Actually, before I read, I would really like to thank Luann Walker, the Southampton Review, Bob Reeves, and the Southampton Writers Conference for this amazing opportunity to read with so many writers whose works I admire. It really means a lot to be back here, in particular to present this piece, which, as Luann mentioned, was workshopped last summer during the Southampton Writers Conference. I was scheduled to be in Frank McCourt's memoir workshop, and it became Kaylee Jones's memoir workshop. And it became, for me, an incredibly pivotal writing experience. So I actually would like to thank you, Kaylee, personally, for really just believing in my writing from day one, and for your guidance with my book, the memoir, from which I will read part of it today, and really for upholding the value of speaking the truth. So the piece I'm going to read is called Surf City, and it's a chapter excerpt from my memoir, Personal Effects, and I've excerpted it further for time. Surf City. As a child, I think of my parents, my brother, and me as the perfect family. The way we fill up a car is, in my mind, the perfect example. My brother Neil and I are like miniature figures of my father and mother, except in the car, I am sitting behind my father, and Neil is sitting behind my mother. During the long drive to our summer vacation in Montauk, Neil and I stare at the backs of our parents' heads. My mother's thick and curly strawberry blonde hair. My father's straight and dark brown, cut like Alan Alda's on MASH, a television show we often watch together on the couch in our basement. This is a ritual. There is a stretch of winding road in Montauk called Old Montauk Highway, but it is not a highway in the traditional sense. There is no passing. It's a narrow two-lane road traversing large hills, some small, but most of them quite steep. The highway leads travelers down, down, down in altitude like an undulating tongue, ending at the mouth of the sea. The road is like a roller coaster. Every time we leave the hotel to go to a restaurant and then out to play miniature golf at Putt and Putt, we have to pass over and through the hills. I hate this part because it makes me feel sick and mad and sad and scared. My father has his foot on the gas pedal as the car climbs to the top of a hill. It is as if he is at the beach, surfing the waves, only this is the road, not the ocean, and we are in the car, and suddenly there is the earth's tarred drop. My stomach feels punched by a mean fist, and the air, all of me, seems to be coming out of my gut as the car plunges downward, then swings back up, following the earth's curvature with increasing speed. I am 6 years old and I am afraid. I ask my father to make it stop, to drive slower. At first he concedes. He did not know it would make me upset. But now he knows and he thinks it is fun, fun, fun to do it again and again and again. I am 6, I am 7, I am 8, 9, 10. My father studies my face in the rearview mirror as we edge toward the crest of another hill. And then, as our vehicle drops, he examines my expression in this microscopic lens. There I am, emotional matter on a glass slide. I start to say it quietly, stop. My father laughs or remains silent as if I have said nothing. I start to whine louder, stop. Neil sits at the other end of the back seat. He is 4 years older than me and likes car rides. He likes to go places. As all this is happening, he places his body in the pose of the thinker, elbow to his knee, chin to his palm. Then he turns his head and back to me and stares out the side window, and I know he is gone. I don't know how many times I asked my father to slow down, to stop making the car drop over the hills that hide progressively deeper depths as we drive onward. My father's hands on the wheel, his foot on the gas pedal, his eyes fixed on me in the rearview reflection. "Mel, you're scaring her," my mother sometimes says. "I'm just joking," my father sometimes answers. My mother might add another stern, "Mel," but after a while she stops speaking altogether. She accepts it. Like my brother, she turns her head away. She fixes her gaze out the side window. "Daddy," I try again and again, but as time goes by, mostly I sink myself as much as I can into the corner of the back seat, wishing with all my might that I will disappear, that my mind will wake me up, and I will be somewhere else instead of in this recurring nightmare. When I realize there is no escaping, I meet my father's gaze in the mirror. "Beg me," he says. "Please," I try. "Please stop." I beg multiple times, multiple summers. I say I will do whatever he wants if he will just stop. We bargain, we make a deal, but he never keeps his promise. I beg more, but I never seem to do it in the way my father wants, as he never stops. He continues as if I am fueling his desire. "Beg me," he taunts again, and I do it again, hoping somehow this time, I will do it right and he will listen. I unbuckle my seatbelt and lean over the front seat, my body, myself begging, "Please," but he does not stop. My mother tells me to sit back. I fling myself into my seat, push my body into the leather cushion, and stare at the car floor. I resign myself to my father's will. I feel dizzied. I think I am going to throw up. I cannot hold it in anymore. I let it out. I let it go. I start to cry. When my father sees this, he grins like a champion, then looks a little sorry, then slows down the car. It is done, I know. I lost the fight. My father got me under his thumb. I do not feel well in ways I cannot even say. I take in only short, shallow breaths. When we come to a stop at wherever we are, my father lets me out. He tussles my hair, says he was just joking. But it's too late. I'm vigilant at every turn that he will do it again, pull the earth out from under, make my world go spinning. Yet, at the same time, when I'm let out of that vehicle, I forget what has just happened. It melts away. We get some fudge at the village store, or play miniature golf, and eat ice cream at John's drive-in. And I swallow the coldness down, spreading numbness through myself. I forget until I'm back in the car and it happens again. I grow older, 11, 12. On the day of the drive to our vacation, my body speaks. My legs tremble. I'm nauseated before we even get in the car to leave the house. I try to refuse the trip. I say I feel sick, I can't go. I bargain with my mother, not my father, but she says we are going now. I beg my mother, ask Dad to drive slow when we get to the hills. She tells me he will not drive fast over the hills even before she asks him. Later, I know she has asked him because my father says he will not do it. Sometimes I overhear him say it to her, but sometimes he says it to me. Multiple times I ask my mother to ask my father. I want to see if my father's answer has changed. My father says he will not do it, but then it happens again. As the summers go by, in the car, Neil and my mother seem to keep more of their focus out the side windows, as if they want to go as far away from me and my problem as possible. I ruined our vacation, I think, even before we start. I've ruined everything. I am 13 or 14 years old when we take our final family vacation to Montauk. I have already seen from the corner of my eye my father's pupils flickering in the rearview mirror, even though this time I made sure to sit behind my mother so that I would not be in my father's direct eye line. I keep silent from the start of the hills. I turn inward. I focus on phrases in my head. This is not happening. He's not bothering me. I will not cry. I won't let him see how I feel. I put on a blank face, focusing with all my might to prevent him, everyone from knowing what is going on inside me. After a while, I stop myself from knowing as well. I turn myself away. My facial muscles become dull. My focus lets go. My vision blurs out the side window. I am gone. One night, when we return to our hotel room, Neil loses his temper and leaves, slamming the door, his voice crescendoing in the hotel hallway in rage toward my father. I don't remember what he says, or if it is my mother or my father who responds with a loud shh, as if it would be embarrassing for people in nearby rooms to have heard. But it is my mother who goes after him. I won't know until years later that Neil is angry with my father, primarily because he once again drove fast up and down those hills, even though I said to stop, but also because my father has begun staring at my body at the pool and disappearing for a time on the beach. And when Neil asks where he has been, my father does not give him a direct answer. But for now, I'm too busy trying to hide my own body and mind, and I merely think Neil and my father do not get along. They have not gotten along for about 5 years. I will not uncover the reasons and details for that until almost 2 decades in the future, when I will uncover them without my brother, mother, or father. I will uncover them alone within myself. For now, Neil and my mother are together in the hotel game room. They've left me with my father. He looks mournful on the bed. I feel the responsibility to somehow comfort him. Thank you.